I know some people might think, oh, she's banging on about race again, but I've got children now that I have to show that to too. So if I can keep talking about it and make sure that these things don't happen again to affect them, I'm going to do that. My children are so fearless. Like, they're 2. And I always think to myself, what would they do? God. Saying the words, I am being treated differently because of the colour of my skin, even to the girls, I was like, this sounds ludicrous. And I just remember hearing so much, it's in your head, Leigh-Anne, it's in your head. You have to do more vocal rehearsals, you have to talk more in interviews, you have to be more funny. You've just got to stand out more because clearly what you're doing isn't working. I did all of that. I know my power, I know my worth. I just put in so many hours to try and better myself when really I just had to be myself, you know?
Hey, Leigh-Anne.
Hi!
We were just trying to work out when it was we last saw each other. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But nice to see you again.
It's so nice to see
On my
you. I know, but do you know what? I'm so glad I'm getting to chat to you one-on-one because we've got a hell of a lot to get through today.
Mm-hmm.
There's this sort of divine energy emanating from you. Like it feels like this is Leigh-Anne's year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I think it was a really scary transition to make coming from the group to now obviously being on my own solo. It was a necessary transition, I think, for all of us. But yeah, it's been freeing, you know, like I can walk into rooms and I can sing about what I want to sing about and there's no compromise. And yeah, I feel like I can really show people what I'm made of.
Yeah, it's liberating.
Yes.
As well as new music, you've written a book which really gets into it. You know, you are totally honest in this book, totally authentic. It seems like you're saying a lot of stuff that you didn't feel you could before, and now you've got this sort of freedom. And I think, you know, part of that might be because now you're in this sort of space where you're on your own, so you can have those sorts of discussions. But also, I guess a big part of it is age, confidence, and feeling like you want to say this stuff.
So true, yeah. And I think as well, like, I know, like, the power that comes with having a platform, you know? Like, I just feel like I'm in this position for a reason. Like, it's necessary for me to speak up and speak out about these issues, like especially like with race, you know, like it's something that I am putting myself out there with, and I want to raise awareness and I want to do something. I want to see a change, you know, like I think it's almost my duty to say something.
Yeah. And, you know, you talk about some pretty painful stuff because, as I said at the start of this, you know, you've got this amazing energy going on. You're clearly fulfilling a lot of dreams and you're really comfy in your own life and you're doing what you want to do. But obviously there was a hell of a lot of pain and discomfort before that you talk about in the book. Yeah. And, you know, as an outsider, I hadn't realised that. I've interviewed you so many times, and it's so often the case when I get this opportunity to properly sit with someone and chat, that you get underneath what you're sort of presented, which is this really beautifully polished girl band who are exceptional at what they do. But there's so much shit going on underneath all that. Yeah. And you were really struggling. I mean, I had no idea reading your book, you know, you were coming off stage so regularly and just bursting into tears immediately. And you didn't even know why at the start.
That's, I think, what was the struggle. Like, I didn't understand it and I blame myself. And it just came down to, you're just not good enough. Like, you have to do more vocal rehearsals. You have to talk more in interviews. You have to be more funny. You've just got to stand out more because clearly what you're doing isn't working. And I did all of that. Like, and I felt like I just put in so many hours to try and better myself when really I just had to be myself, you know? So yeah, it was a frustrating thing to deal with, to not know that it was because of the colour of my skin, to not have that definitive like answer as to why I'm going through this. And years went on. I remember like coming off stage and my manager would be like, I'd be crying and she'd be like, Leigh-Anne, like, it's not you, you're amazing. And bless her, like she didn't know what to say to me, you know, she was just trying to like lift me up. And I was just like, why is this happening? Like, why am I fading? Like, why am I not equal to the other girls? Like, why am I not getting this reception like they are? What is going on? And no one could help me. And I think it wasn't really until Brazil for me. I went to Brazil and we performed to a predominantly black crowd and they were chanting my name. And I'd toured the world with the girls and I'd never felt a feeling like it. And I feel like it changed my life, to be honest, because it was the realization that I needed to fully understand what was happening.
Yeah, it's a really emotional part of the book. You know, it's right at the start of the book that you talk about that gig and having that realisation and walking off stage and feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling loved, which you clearly hadn't for many, many years. And there was also an element of that felt prior to the Brazil gig, that you were being gaslit to some extent, because you would come off and say, you know, what is going on? Why am I not getting the same amount of, you know, brilliant, warm reception from the crowd? And everyone, I guess, you know, trying to make you feel comfortable would say, no, it's all in your head. Everyone loves you. But actually, that's not necessarily helpful when you're trying to work out
But this is it.
What's the reason and how do I overcome this?
Exactly. And I just remember hearing so much, it's in your head, Leigh-Anne, it's in your head. And it was only times where I could speak to my black dancers who just got it because they had similar experiences in their lives, you know, we could all speak and I found so much comfort with them. And there were times I could speak to Jade as well. But I remember I speak about in the book, there was one time on stage, it was the LM5 tour, and I was coming off and I was getting really sad and just feeling the same feeling. And then my dancer King and Lorenzo, there was a move that they did. They turned around to me and they did a crown sign on their heads and looked at me, and that was it. I was gone. I was oh my God, they did it every night. And God, I get shivers when I think about it because I needed that. I just needed to see that. So yeah, I took comfort in those times.
So during this whole process of, you know, having been on the X Factor, the band forming, making music, touring the world, having all of these complex feelings going on, at what point did you realise, wait a minute, this is about race?
Oh, good question. I think as the years went on, I would speak to my family about it and the conversation came up sometimes and my mum and dad would be like, Leigh-Anne, you're getting the same money, it's okay, just get on with it, do what you got to do. And I didn't want to hear that at that time. It's almost like I wanted to, I don't know, it's like tough love, you know, and I don't know what I needed, but that to me was I just want to get on with it, you know, I want something to change here. I read Why I No Longer Talk to White People About Race. And when I read that, it was okay, this is so relatable right now. And I think I read something as a black person walking into a predominantly white room, you should be the one that stands out. So why is it an invisible feeling? You know, and I was like, wow, I related to that so much. And I then remember I first spoke about race 2018 with ASOS magazine, and it fell on deaf ears. Just no one cared. And it's interesting because when I wanted to do my documentary, Race, Pop and Power, when I started talking about wanting to do it, this was years ago, actually, that I first started thinking about it. And my mum was like, but no one cares about race, Leigh-Anne. Great, amazing, but people just don't want to hear it. And that was the reality. And I think it was only the tragic killing of George Floyd and obviously the movement started happening in the pandemic. Everyone was talking about race for the first time in my lifetime. So then I decided to put a video out. My sister called me and she was like, Leigh-Anne, you have to talk about your experiences, properly. Go in and just say it. And I did. And I think it was, the overwhelming, response of just, support. There was, from my fans, from so many people all around the world. And also hearing from other girls in different girl bands, like Normani from Fifth Harmony, Rochelle from the Saturdays, all reaching out, black girls in their group. And they said exactly the same. Normani said, you and me and I am you. And I was just oh my gosh, this whole time, this has been a thing. This has not been in my head. This is real. So I think it was these little things that added to the realisation of it.
It would have been so amazing if you could have had those conversations with those other girl band members prior to that. But there wasn't the space for it seemingly, or it wasn't
No.
something that anyone felt necessarily comfortable talking about openly through,
Yeah.
I don't know, fear. It's usually fear, whether you're black or white. I think there was huge fear prior to the whole movement.
Yeah.
Is this okay to say? Should I say it? And sometimes I feel like on this podcast, certainly my duty is to sometimes say the unsayable or things that you're scared about. And I certainly, I think prior to the movement, wouldn't have felt comfortable asking anybody about race unless they had brought it up, which isn't necessarily right. I maybe should have moved more towards that subject of my own accord, but I think I was absolutely terrified.
I think
so
we all were.
we
Even
all
me
were.
as a black woman. I think it's that sort of like, it was like an icky thing. And like I could talk about it like on my Sundays with my family, you know, in like these safe spaces or like with my friends. But it was never a thing. Like saying the words, I am being treated differently because of the colour of my skin. Saying those words, even to the girls, like I was like, this sounds ludicrous. For all those years, it sounded wild to me. So I just never knew how to say it. But then, yeah, obviously the world almost woke up in a way, and like these conversations aren't awkward anymore, you know, like we can have these conversations. And yeah, I feel like a lot has changed, still a lot to be done, but it feels like it's moving in the right direction.
So when you would approach, whether it's the band or, I know much like myself, you've got your old schoolmates that are still your really, really good friends. Could you approach that subject prior to you having this realisation? Is that something you felt you could say, especially to the band, like, look, I'm really struggling here?
I don't think so, really. They knew that but we would joke about it. Like, I would be like, oh, they don't care about me anyway. Like, oh, the fans don't really care anyway. Like, that's what I would say and laugh about it. And, like, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, like... But I never really said to them, I think it's because of my race, because I didn't even know, you know? So, but yeah, it wasn't until, like, the last maybe, like, 4 years or 3 years where, like, I felt like I could, but especially to Jade, you know, because she's like mixed heritage. So I just felt like she really got it. But yeah, it was just saying it out loud, just something about it.
And so having that realisation, which is essential for you to then be able to work out coping mechanisms or how you're going to build your confidence back up, because from reading your book, and I think it, you know, there's lots of people out there who have entered the public eye, definitely myself included, who had a sort of perhaps a natural confidence prior to that, and then it quickly gets stripped away from being in the public eye because everyone's got an opinion. Everyone, you know, eyes are on you, so you're aiming for some kind of elusive perfection that doesn't actually exist, and you start to second guess yourself and question everything that you're doing. So you really get to see that in your book, how that confidence was just slowly ebbing away. And it's really heartbreaking to read at times. And I think many people would read that and it massively resonates. Being then at the point where you feel like, I've got no confidence, you know, I'm not feeling great, but at least I know why now.
Yeah.
How did you then start to build your confidence back up, to get back on stage? Because it's no mean feat, especially now on your own, to be out there doing what you love, but without your other bandmates on the stage with you, and to get on the stage and not feel insecure or worried or second guessing what's going to happen. How did you start to incrementally build that confidence?
Obviously we had Brazil and like that sort of awakening.
So that was a massive pivotal point for you. Like that was the start of something.
Yeah, 100%. Because there were people out there that saw me, you know, and like I felt it on that stage. And I think that did a lot for my confidence, for sure. Even now, like I'll have moments where like I'll still feel like that girl, you know, who really was like stripped of things like character, confidence, or whatever. But I'm also that girl that is just taking it now. Like I really do feel like the more that I've been open and the more that I've spoken out and the more that like everything's there now, it's out, I've just got to move on, you know? Like I am taking all of these opportunities. Like I know my power, I know my worth. And like I've got children now that I have to show that to too. So yeah, I mean, that's like a massive thing for me. Like, and she's not going to get emotional. Oh, God.
my children are so fearless. Like, they're 2. And I always think to myself, what would they do? Like, oh, God. They're 2 years old, and I literally think, what would they do? And that is all I need.
It's the biggest perspective shifter, isn't it? It's,
Massively.
And also, it's just huge. It's huge. It makes you reevaluate everything. And also, do you know what I think it is? And it makes me feel deeply emotional, in the same light, is that it gives you actually, your purpose is totally different now.
Yes.
You're doing it for different reasons.
Literally. And like, I know some people might think, oh, she's banging on about race again, but if I can keep talking about it and make sure that these things don't happen again to affect them, I'm going to do that. Like, I'm in this unique position where I do have, at the minute, a predominantly white fan base, even right now. And I do want to, like, educate, and I do want to keep just speaking about it and raising this awareness. Like, otherwise, why am I here, Like, I really do feel like there's a deeper purpose for me.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, well, it's so important, and it's brilliant that you're doing it. And what you're managing to do is straddle your passion, which is singing and performing, but also there's deeply important messaging there that you want to get out there, and it's amazing that you're doing it. It's liberating.
Thank you.
Oh,
sorry.
No, it's beautiful. I love it. It's so beautiful. I mean, I loved reading, again, towards the beginning of the book, this mantra that you've now got. When you walk on stage, you've got a mantra. And I know you were using it in more desperate times when you needed to build yourself up, but it's still something you say to yourself. Do you mind sharing it with us now?
Oh, believe.
No, but you've got this, like, I'm queen.
Sorry.
I've dog-eared
I'm fierce.
I'm fierce.
I'm powerful.
Hit me.
I'm strong.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a queen.
I'm a queen.
I was like, I wonder. Yeah, here you go.
Yes.
You're a queen. You're fierce. You're powerful.
Yes.
You're a queen. You're fierce. You're powerful.
Yes.
I was like, I hope Leigh-Anne doesn't mind, but I'm stealing that one. I'm having it.
Do you know, it's so important. I always say that to myself before stage.
It's so important because, like you said a moment ago, you can do all this work on yourself and you can build yourself up, but that doesn't mean you're completely robust and you're going to just be then every time you go on stage going, I've got this, let's go. I mean, every time I do a podcast, I'm slightly shitting myself before because I want it to go wow. And I think you do have to reprogram your mind to go, I'm capable of doing this. I am fierce. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. And actually,
100%.
even if, because I'm sure there have been times when you've been saying that on repeat in your head, but you haven't believed it. But you've got to still say it.
It's so true.
You've got to still say it.
It's so true. And like, yeah, you're right. I think there are times where, like, I do sort of resort to feeling like that girl again. And, but I'm also bored of feeling like that. Like, I'm bored of doubting myself. And it's like I was taught to do that. I'd learned it. And that's why I think now, like, I have therapy and whatever, and I am kind of still healing from it. But I also know that it's not really doing me good, Like I want to do this solo career and I want to show people the potential that they might not have seen when I was in the group. And, like, I'm so excited to show that. And also that little girl who had a dream and she was so determined to make it come true. Like, I'm also doing it for her. So, yeah, I mean, I am human. So these things sometimes do come back and these doubts do sometimes come back. And I'm like, judo chop, get out. Just get out. Because, yeah, like, I'm just ready to do this now on my own.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was talking to a friend about this last week. We all have those moments where we go back to feeling like, I could easily go back to feeling like when I was 15, when I was starting out in TV and I was just some random kid from the suburbs who didn't know what was going on. And I'm 40 fucking 2 and I can still go back to feeling 15, like I don't belong on the set, I don't know what I'm doing, I've just literally come out of school, what the heck am I up to? And my friend Harry, who I was talking to, is like, this is when you have to parent yourself. Remember, be a parent to that younger version of yourself.
Yes.
Because we couldn't be then, because we were too young.
Yes.
And obviously our parents, they're obviously going through this for the first time too. They've never had a daughter in a pop band. They've never had a daughter doing what I do. So you've got to actually go back and parent that younger version of yourself and go, it's all right.
Literally.
It's all going to be okay.
Yes.
You've got this. It's fine. But we're so used to the habitual thing is to go when we're in, trickier times. Oh, I'm worthless. I can't do this. I'm useless. And we just beat ourselves up. Everybody does this, not just people who do jobs like ours. Everybody has a propensity to turn on themselves. And as soon as other people start to, say something mean online or whatever, it's so easy for you to go, yeah, I am a piece of shit. And you just turn on yourself. It's horrible.
Oh my God, it's the worst. It is the worst.
And that's the time when you need yourself the most.
Yeah. It is that sort of like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I actually feel like, a lot of people for sure will have that, but a lot of artists as well. And it's like they could be selling out arenas, but probably still have this element of it. Like it's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thing. Oh my God, I've interviewed people that you would not even imagine, like top of their game, or even just chatted to off mic, who are deeply insecure about what they're doing. And you could never imagine it. But I think if you can use that positively, it's great fire in your belly to go, right, well, what's the next goal? How can I keep progressing?
Yeah.
But it's a fine line between fire in your belly and actually feeling like this is too much, I can't do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it is a lot to put yourself out
100%. And I think as well, like this idea of self-worth depending on how well you do, if that makes sense. Like, God, I can't not explain it very well, but I did something in therapy where it's like this sort of chart, and it's like I was going in this like vicious circle of like, because I have so much drive, and like it's okay if things don't work out the way I want to, or like it's like I was always searching for the next thing, like nothing's ever good enough, if that makes sense, like in this sort of circle of it, and just like working out ways of trying to break this cycle. Because, like, I'm out here making music that I love. Like, that's a win in itself.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I was going through something, going from, like, one of the biggest girl bands in the world and, like, this massive machine, getting number ones here and there, to now transitioning to being a new artist. And I very much do have to start from the bottom now. Like, obviously, I have a platform, but I am still new, Like, I'm not in a group anymore. So I think, like, getting my head around that and being like, it's okay, like this is going to take a bit of time, but that's fine. Like you've had 2 songs out, like you're growing, like you've got so much to offer, you're making great music, you love what you're doing, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's fine.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think it's scary to let yourself enjoy it. I find that. I think, you can't enjoy this. You need to work out what the hell you're doing next. Like, what's the next? It is a bit. I'm always in that vicious circle. Absolutely. Of, okay, that was good, but next, what's next? And what's happening next? And actually, you're trying to quantify your self-worth with stuff or like achievement.
Exactly.
And it's impossible because what's the end?
Where does it end?
It doesn't. And I think that that leads very nicely on to sort of talking about perfectionism, which I think is so. It's such a burn. It's the pits. But we're all stuck in it. Everyone's stuck in this. And, when you have, again, got all eyes on you going, well, what's Leigh-Anne doing? And what's the song? And what's the book? And how's the book doing? And there's all these quantifiable charting mechanisms that make you think, I'm doing well or I'm not doing well, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's really hard to let go of the idea of perfection and just go with it. I mean, just perfection it's so evil and tricky.
Yep. Oh my
So
gosh, you
evil.
literally hit the nail on the head. It's so frustrating because like I can go on and have a great performance and like it's perceived really well, but there's like one little thing that I did wrong or whatever, and I'm beating myself up. And like I look back on that and I'm like, Leigh-Anne, just chill. Like you did good, like just give yourself a break.
Yes.
Wow.
I know, why do we do it to ourselves?
No.
And also we're human. We're not robots. We can't perform a task we just sort of mechanically and perfectly. We're human. There's going to be little moments where I stumble over words or you forget lyrics or whatever we're doing because we're human beings, and that's the beauty of it. But we're I think social media's enhanced that in the worst possible way.
Do you feel like it's got worse?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, God, when I was on kids' TV, I was awful, obviously, and I'd be saying all sorts of wrong things and just, messing up left, right and centre. No one cared, or if they did, it was in their head. But now I think that the strange translation of thought to now it being typed onto a screen, it feels more brutal. It's actually no different to someone just thinking it and then it disappearing. But actually it being on a screen makes it seem sort of more vicious and real. It's not. It's the same as someone thinking it and then going, oh, I'll make a cup of tea now.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. And I mean, I know you'd done a lot of legwork beforehand and you were deeply passionate about performing and singing. But going into the X Factor, you're straight into that environment. Yeah. There's no gentle glide into that one. You're straight in to that spotlight. And again, reading your book, I could see how, you said you were a shy kid, but you were deeply passionate about singing and performing, and that's where your confidence lived.
Yeah.
But as soon as you started that X Factor process, that is where perhaps those insecurities started to kick in?
Yeah. So I remember there was one show that I did, it was Telephone, and on the night of the show, like, they took away my lines and gave it to another girl. And they didn't even, like, help me, like, oh, maybe we should do it this way or whatever. It was like, this girl singing that. And I was just like, okay, what a way to knock my confidence. And then I remember calling my sister and she was like, okay, they're not going to hear you, but they're going to see you, so dance your ass off for this show. And I did. You watch that back, I am giving it. Oh, my goodness. And then, like, another week, I really wanted to sing a certain part of the song. It was Don't Let Go. And then one of the producers was just like, well, go on then. Sing it if you can. And I was like, okay, here's my audition again. And then I did it, and then she was like, yeah, you can do it. And I was thinking, why is this so brutal? Like... oh my gosh.
And it was brutal, and you were progressing. Well, you won the show, but I mean, you were progressing without knowing you were going to win. But you're seeing every week people go home.
Yeah.
Dream over.
Yes.
Bye. Back to what you were doing before. And you talk about
brutal.
how awful that was. Do you think...
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big one. And, I worked on X Factor. I did the Extra Factor for 1 year. And I was like, this is too much for me. Goodbye, everyone. Do you think there's enough care in terms of giving someone that dream or a glimpse of it and then it just dissipates immediately?
Well, not back then.
No.
Definitely not. But obviously, I think we talk a lot more about mental health. And so we did a show called The Search, and, like, we made sure that a lot went into that. Like, talking to the contestants constantly, like, are you okay? Like, even if they had to go home, like, there was people checking up on them constantly, because we know firsthand, like, that, I mean, luckily, like, we won the show and we obviously didn't get sent home, but at the beginning, like, we had some no's, and then we were obviously put into a group. But you literally, like, if you audition one of those shows, like, this is your life, you just want to sing, like, this is your dream. And, like, there was a point of doing The Search, like, that was in the palm of our hand, someone else's dream. Like, I really struggled. I cried all the time. I hated it. Like, how saying no to people, just, oh my gosh. And I think it's because I knew how much I wanted it. So yeah, that was really hard. But I definitely feel like things are changing now in terms of the level of care that they have for people. I think, anyway.
Yeah,
like
it's a full-on process. I mean, it was brilliant, and it all seems very sort of fateful and fortuitous. Again, looking back on your X Factor story, that you were put in this group and you guys clicked. There was some magic immediately, that you all clicked. You shared a work ethic. You really got on with each other. Alongside that ran this feeling for you of, but who am I? What's my identity?
Yeah.
And again, we can look at the model of the Spice Girls, who, we were all obsessed with, and it was really clear to see, Smash Hits had given them these names of posh and sporty, and we could clearly see what their supposed persona was.
Yeah.
But that obviously leads for a lot of other musicians in bands, certainly, to have this, identity that's already there, and you go, I'm the one who ... And even later in the book, you talk about asking yourself that question, like, who are you, Leigh-Anne?
Yeah.
Who are you? Is that something that you're still concerned about, or you still give thought to?
Definitely not as much, because now I'm just like, I'm me, take it or leave it. Like, I am literally just myself, and I feel like whoever meets me sees that as well. I think I spent too many years thinking that question, who am I? Like, what do I bring to this group or whatever? I think obviously being in a girl band as well, like, we were very much equal. There wasn't a front runner, there wasn't a lead singer. So everybody had, like the Spice Girls, everyone had their thing. And I feel like everyone else kind of had that figured out really early. And then there was just me, like, okay, am I the sexy one? Like, and then one time, like, I like had this particular hairstyle that I wanted to keep going with. I was just not figuring it out. And I guess like I was really young too, you know, like there was quite a lot to kind of like deal with and handle. But no, now I'm just like, take it or leave it, man.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I sort of think, I don't know who I am still. And I'm actually quite excited by that. Like, there's still so much to learn about, like, what I can do, what I don't want to do. I think it's a really juicy proposition when you're younger that you've got to figure it out. And then maybe as you get older, you just think, I don't care.
Let's just see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah. And quite exciting. Who am I going to be when I'm 60? I don't know.
Yes. I think as well, like now moving into this solo era, like people asking, okay, Leigh-Anne, who are you? Again, the same question. Okay, well, I've had 2 songs out, so let's just see, you know? Like, why do I have to have this so figured out? Like, I've literally just entered my solo journey. Like, I know the kind of music that I want to make. Like, let's just do it, you know?
And
without
also,
that pressure.
Yeah, and it's strange because once you maybe do figure it out, if any of us ever do, especially if your job is public facing, that then that's you set in stone. Yeah. Like you are that. People find it really hard when I think certainly music artists change either style of music or what they look like or who they're showing up as. Whereas we're all changing every day. Every single person on planet Earth is evolving and growing and changing daily, but we've got a low tolerance for it for people who are out there on a stage.
It's so true, isn't it? It really is.
It's weird.
Yeah, and I think as an artist as well, you should be able to explore the different sides, you know, and like if you're feeling in a certain mood one day and you want to write a ballad, but you normally write upbeat songs, then do your ballad, you know, like it's... You should have that ability to be able to put out what you want and feel what you want to feel.
Yes. We've got to do this.
Why are women so scrutinised for that? Like men can just age
and like they're
fine
sexy. Wine. I know.
They're freaking white, grey foxes. What do they get called?
Silver foxes.
Silver foxes.
There's no silver female fox.
Do you know what I mean? Like, gosh, just let us be.
Let us be.
Honestly. It's true, though.
It's so true. Drives me mad. And it scares me for my kids massively.
That's the thing.
And that, again, might be a bit of a cliche, but it scares me. I'm sort of hoping there'll be an implosion in that generation that just go, sod all this, we're not going to listen, we're going to do our own thing. And I really hope that happens because at the moment it still feels on the edge of, there is this pressure for everyone to turn up aesthetically looking a certain way, and we've got to have room for there to be just great diversity in every capacity, in every area.
I feel like as well, like kids are getting older quicker.
Yes.
Like when you look at like, I don't know, someone that's like 13 and they look about 20. Like that scares the life out of me.
I know.
Like, and you know, like when we were growing up, I was old. No, we're not old. It's just when we were growing up and like we didn't have all those filters and whatever.
No.
We went through like our stages, whereas now it's like, how can I explain this? Like there's no like, not ugly stage, but like you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, we experimented. Holy cow. I had all the hair colours, all the haircuts, all the awful makeup, and dark brown lip liner, and just
but now
horrific.
It's like going straight to this like
sophistication.
Perfect, quote unquote, like look. And yeah, it's scary.
It is scary. It is scary. I mean, that's the good thing about social media is there is always like a sort of counter narrative that hopefully is running parallel to the stuff that is probably a little bit less helpful. But it's a big subject. We'll see.
It really is.
I mean, you've talked about, you've alluded to therapy already. I know that you started therapy 2013. What made you seek out therapy in the first place?
Oh gosh, I first had it when. Yeah, I was experiencing all these things in the group, like feeling less than, feeling invisible. Like I wanted to speak to somebody. So I spoke to a lady. It was so lovely. And she's done therapy with us as a group as well. But when I spoke to her, it didn't come to that conclusion, you know, like she couldn't say to me, okay, it probably is because of your skin. Like there was none of that, you know, like there was no like realization of that. So it wasn't really that helpful for me. And then obviously, we've had it as a group as well. Like some of the, like losing a member and whatever, like we had to obviously, we needed something because it was just such a horrible like time. But recently, yes, I am having therapy. And I think for me, it was really important to have a Black woman, because sometimes you want to just be able to talk and not feel like you have to explain, you know, like, in the fact that she just gets it, like, is just such a comforting feeling, because it's exhausting enough talking about race. Like, it's so tiring. And yeah, I just think it was important that I had that.
And is this something you still regularly do now?
Yeah, no, it is. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got it today. And I get a bit, oh, do I want to get into things? Do I want to? But then I have it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
You know, like, it is a scary thing, but it's so necessary.
Yeah, it is. I think going back to even that question of like, who am I? It sort of helps you figure all that out, or care less. And it's,
Exactly.
you know, it's important. I certainly have that. Or some days I go, oh, I feel great, I don't need to. And that's probably a sign that I really should.
Yes, yeah, I get that too. It's mad.
It is, it is. So look, you alluded to it. We don't have to get into it too hugely here, but obviously Jessie came on the podcast not long after she left Little Mix. And that was a deeply painful time for you, as well as therapy. How did you navigate that?
Oh, I think we were really lucky. Like me, Jade, and Pez, like, really stuck together, and like, just like, we were lucky that we had that bond to get each other through it. Like, the fans were amazing. I felt like we were held, and obviously we have an incredible team. We had an incredible team, so that they were really strong for us too. And yeah, therapy too. We had to have a bit of therapy. Yeah, it was hard.
I mean, you're on a indefinite hiatus at the moment. Do you still talk as a band about what the future could hold, what you might do later down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think we'll definitely do a reunion. Like, how can we not? You know, like, but I mean, let's just enjoy this time now, like, for each of us. But yeah, I definitely think maybe like 5 years' time we'll get back together, make a load of money, you know.
You got your plans.
Yeah.
You got your plans. And how are your gorgeous twins? I saw that little video the other day of them dancing to your single, My Love. Yeah. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
No, stop. But they sing it as well. Like, they sing it. I'll be like, what's your favourite song? They go, My Love.
And they're two.
Yeah.
Terrible twos or okay twos?
Bit of both, to be honest. Yeah. They're kind of chill, but yeah, they definitely have their moments. Oh God, I'm obsessed.
And obsessed. Twins is no mean feat. I mean, I've got friends with twins.
Yes.
And that's an experience that, you know, I haven't lived through. But simple things, breastfeeding, you trying to sleep at night, it's a whole other shebang.
Yeah, I had to breastfeed them at the same time at one point. But I remember there was one time where they were up on the hour every hour. Like, they were taking it in turns, so I just didn't sleep. And like, I was hallucinating, like there were spiders crawling across me, there was bees on the ceiling, like, and I remember waking Andre, I'm like, get up! And he was like, what? I'm like, I'm just hallucinating again.
That tiredness, it's the next
sleep paralysis. Yeah, it's wild. Wow.
God,
but we do it.
Got through it.
Yeah, we're resilient, man, us women. Jeez.
I know.
God, we're so strong.
What we can do.
Wild.
And you've also got your partner. He's not living in the UK at the moment.
No,
he's
in Saudi.
Yeah. So how's that to manage?
Long. Yeah, I just miss him. He probably sees us like once a month at the minute. Like, it's long. Yeah, long distance is hard. But we know what we're doing it for, you know? Like, we're doing it for them, for the babies, so not long to go.
Yeah, you've got this.
Yeah.
You know what your future goals are.
Exactly.
You just got to keep going with it. I mean, again, I really appreciated in the book that you were very keen to say, let's not sugarcoat relationships here, because every relationship has either had its challenges, faces its challenges at the moment. And you talk about rougher times that you had with your partner. How did you get through that and end up in a good place today? Because I think there's always people who are going to be listening to this or otherwise who are at that point at the moment in a relationship going, with kids, which is a very complicated situation, am I seeing this through, or is it time to call it a day?
Yeah.
How did you stick with your relationship, and have you got to a good place with it now?
I think if you want something bad enough, you will fight for it. For me, I wasn't ready to throw the towel in. I think I knew and I know what we have is so pure and so strong. And I think sometimes people are quick to kind of like give up or like walk away or whatever. But I think where we are now in this like beautiful place, I feel like we've had our struggles, and if anything, it feels sweeter where we are because we've like been through shit. And I don't know, there's just something about like if you really can make it through that and get to the other end, like what does that say, you know? Like that says a lot. And also like nothing's perfect. People mess up, you know, and like I think whatever we went through, like I was ready to fight and make it through, and I'm glad that I did and we did.
I also loved hearing about how you met, because it's not dissimilar to my own story in the fact that I'd come out of a very long-term thing and I went, fuck it, I'm going to Ibiza. You went, fuck it, I'm going to Marbella.
Oh my God!
And I met my husband in a club, and so did you.
Brilliant!
Yes.
Oh my God, I love that.
Me
Wow.
too, because actually it's usually when you're feeling like you're never going to meet anyone that you meet the person.
Wow.
And this is before dating apps. We didn't have all that. We were just like, oh, met someone in a club.
Oh God, that's so
We're so
true.
old-fashioned.
Oh my gosh, that's so cliche, isn't it? But
I love
actually,
it.
like when, yeah, for me, I felt like it was actually love at first sight. Like, and I'm a hopeless romantic, and I love really hard.
Me too.
But yay, I love that. But I just knew as soon as I saw him that, yeah,
This is it. In Marbella.
literally
In a club.
Marbella, Marbs.
I love it.
Wow.
A bit of the mobs.
Yeah.
You've dedicated your book to your grandma Norma and your nanny Doreen. What did those women mean to you?
Oh gosh, try not to cry again. So my nanny, Doreen, was the kindest person ever. Like, when you think of a nanny, like, we made cakes, we made fresh fish and chips, like, we went on dog walks, and, like, she was just the best. And, like, me and my sister would just look forward to going to her house, like, every weekend that we could, and, like, just obsessed with her. And she never got to see this. She never got to see any of it. And sometimes I just wish that she could still be here to see me. But I know she is. She's up there. She's looking down. But I feel like what I got from my nanny, like that sort of caring, like kindness, like I really feel like she imprinted that into me and like into my sisters. So like I just love that. And my grandma Norma, so we didn't see her as much as we'd like to, because my granddad, like, we didn't really get on with him that much, and like my mum wasn't really close to him. She didn't really like him. Like, he wasn't a very nice man, and he was just horrible to my grandma. And we always get so like sad that we didn't spend enough time with her, because she was an angel. So yeah, I think we think about all the beautiful times that we did have with her. And like the proper memory I have of her was when she was like dancing in our living room and like loving her life, and like that was one of the last memories. And like I just think of that, and like again, I know she's up there watching down on us also.
It's a lovely dedication.
Thank you.
It's so nice to look back on the generations and have that gratitude for what you got from those women.
So true.
Yeah, it's really important. It's really
so
important. But look, good luck with this beautiful book.
Thank you.
And everything that you're doing solo. I'm so happy to see that you're thriving and that you're in such a good space. It's a total joy. And thank you for being on Happy Place.
Yay, that was so nice. Thank you.